Welcome, this is Zon with Repro Products, and here are today's AutoCAD tips and tricks. Tips and tricks number 5, snapping to gaps. When we zoom into an object that has a dashed line, there's a gap here. When I go to select the object via picking on the line, it will actually register that it reads the data. If I put my cursor on the space, it will also read the data. If I do a window crossing and that crossing window goes through the gap, it notices the object as well and it allows me to select it. If you type in the command LT gap selection and have that switched to 0, then if you were to try to do a window crossing where there is a gap, it will not register the data. But if you do a window crossing where it's touching the object, then it will register the data. The default for that system variable is 1, so that it's turned on. Some people like to have that on, some people like to have it turned off. You can turn it off by just using that system variable. Another tooltip is tooltip number 6, sending hatches to the back. When we take a look at the hatch command or we look at the properties of a hatch, you will also notice under options that you can specify its display order. Send it to the front, send it to the back, send it behind an object, send it in front of an object. In this particular file, you'll notice that the hatch is all in front of the text. If you use the command hatch to back and hit enter, all the hatch for the entire drawing will go to the back, and that way the text is staying on top of the hatch and it's easier to see. Another tooltip for AutoCAD is the hatch layer. When we work with hatching and you start with the hatch command, you will notice under the properties panel that you can actually input a specific layer for that hatch, and then you can click to place that hatch. When you're finished, you'll notice that that object is on the layer that you specified. You can, if you need to, type in the command HP layer, and it will ask you to specify the layer that you want to work with, and by default it's set to use current. If you go to the layer property dialog box and expand this window so you can see easier, you can create the hatch layer that you want or the specific layer you want, say test ABC, and whatever color you want. And when you go to create the hatch, if you do HP layer again and just do test ABC, then as you create a hatch, it puts it on that layer, test ABC, as you can see here in the quick properties window. Another tooltip is when you look at the attribute tag of an object and you double click it, it opens up the, let's turn off the quick properties for a second. If I double click this, it will open up the enhanced attribute editor dialog box, which you can resize and input the data. You just pick what you want and you type in the value. However, you can just hold the control key down and pick that feature, and if you double click, you're inside and you can actually change it on the fly without actually having to go to that dialog box. And these are some quick tool tips for AutoCAD.